Alright, we are back with part 4 of the DIY belt sander. Today we are going to be talking about the tracking arm. This is a appendage on the main body that pushes up against the belt and can be adjusted in and outwards to keep the belt centered on the machine. For this, I'm going to be using leftover parts from making the body, so I'm going to be using the 2-inch tube and 1.5-inch tube and some of the flat parts that were just scrap. So the first thing that we have to do is cut out these two pieces here. The top one is 6 inches and the bottom one is 4 inches. And for the bottom one, I used the larger pipe that I had, and for the top one I used the smaller one because eventually we want the smaller one to fit, or rather the top one to fit inside of the bottom one, so that I can pivot clockwise and counterclockwise so that we can have a spring that goes from the left of the top one to the bottom of the bottom one, so that it'll spring it in a counterclockwise rotation to make the belt tensioned. Alright, so the small piece is done. I cut it to length according to this. Next, what I need to do is cut out a little slit in here so that this can like drop in it basically, and then I need to cut this piece, which is technically gonna be like right here, and then need to figure out where I want the center, drill a hole here, drill a hole here, and that should give it the pivot ability right here as seen on this diagram. So I'm gonna cut the slit now so that I can drop it in and see how it fits. Alright, so I cut this slit right here, which allows this piece to kind of rock. So I just need to position it up so it can go like this, do the movement. And then I also have this piece which goes here, and then on there is going to be mounted like a little bracket that can go in and out, and essentially the roller is going to be attached to that bracket. So just like this picture here, this piece, and this piece are what I have right now. So I just have to weld these together and then stick a bolt through here to provide a pivot point. Just finished drilling the holes. I stuck a bolt in from the extra bolts that I have from the treadmill and the squat rack, and this is how it looks. If I let go, it'll just turn over, but it's gonna be welded or bolted here, haven't decided, and it works pretty well. So I'm gonna have this much travel, which is really nice, and it seems to move pretty freely, so I'm really happy with that. So now that we got this, I'm going to try to make this part here that a bolt goes through here so that it can actually move like this. So I just got, it was actually this thing. I don't know what it was for. I think it was for the rack, just a mounting point. Anyway, I cut it up so that I'm going to, still a little warm. I'm going to go like this. Woo! That's spicy. I'm going to go like that, like this, essentially, and then same thing on the other side. And then hopefully that'll give me the little thing, and eventually a hole is going to be drilled right here and onto the other side as well. Alright, so here's what we got for now. We got this, and also this. So this is going to be the tracking mechanism. It can go a little bit angled inwards and then more outwards too. So I think that should be fine. And then I'm going to weld the thing that the wheel goes on right here. And then from this side, I'm going to weld a nut right here. And then a bolt is going to go through here out of this hole, and then that's what is going to push this forwards And naturally it's just going to want to go like this. It's not going to want to go flat. It's going to want to go down because the weight of this cylinder is going to want to push it down, and when it pushes down it's going to want to go this way. So what I'm going to do now is actually take this bracket and I'm going to weld this tracking mechanism to it just like that, and then I'm going to bolt the bracket to this frame here, because if I don't end up liking how this tracking mechanism works, I'm going to go to something simpler. So I don't want to weld this whole thing onto this frame. Also, it makes it easier if I have to disassemble everything. I can just unbolt this and then have this whole thing separate. So I'm going to weld this to this real quick. Alright, so that turned out fine. Welded this bracket onto this piece, and now this piece is bolted onto the frame. So it's on there. Now this thing can move and go this way. So I just took this Dremel and I sanded out the inside of this. So the plan is to get a nut and then put it on the inside and then weld it here so that the bolt goes in here and then it gets centered by this nut as it goes through. So hopefully I can actually weld this. What I did was bolted it through the opposite way that I want it, so that the nut is up against the metal part, so that's gonna make it a lot easier so I can weld it. Well, it looks like I messed up. Well, I did the welding fine. I mean, it's not fine, but it's in there. But I did that as well. As you can see, other attempts have failed, so I'm going to try to drill it out now. Alright, so I finally got the old bolt out and the new one in. The threads were kind of messed up on this nut, so I don't know if you can see it, but the bolt is kind of like dull from going in and out, basically. But that's fine because this is the only bolt I'm going to be using for this, so if it gets dull to match the nut, I don't really care. So whenever I turn it in, it should go this way, and then right now it's not out at all, so it's all the way down. I just put this spring tensioning system on here. Basically I just drilled a hole in this, a nut and bolt, and then put a washer on so this spring doesn't slip off. So alright, so there we have it. The tensioning mechanism is done, so video 4 is complete. So thanks for watching this episode. Our next episode we'll be creating the grinder arm.